Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Potel Podcast. My name is Wangeshi. I'll be hosting this with my amazing guests. We are at Grand Empire Hotel. I hope you guys will. We have a hot topic for you guys. I hope you'll enjoy it. I'll allow my guests to introduce themselves, then we can start off.
Yo, hi everyone. I'm Spencer Wanambisi, or you can call me Spence. Uh, what else? I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I'm also a podcaster. Recently, I've begun writing, so I can also classify myself as an author as well. Yeah, and I'm great to be here. Yeah.
Hi everyone, my
Hi.
name is Donna Nyaboke. I'm aspiring to be an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I am also a podcaster and discuss pertinent political ideology on TikTok. And it's a pleasure to be here.
Hi, hi everyone. My name is Kelvin Kosgei. I'm a software developer, digital marketing strategist. I'm also a founder and CEO of Digilance. Looking forward to this podcast. Thank you.
Wow. And I am a musician and I'm still in school doing Bachelor of Science in Financial Economics. Pia mi I hope nitafika hapo. Nimalize. I really want to be done. Anyway, let's get to the topic. Our topic today is breaking the stigma around mental health and trauma. And let me start with asking, what does mental health stigma mean to you?
From my own understanding, mental health stigma, I think it is the general perception, or rather the judgment, that one experiences within the field of mental trauma and situation. Yes.
To piggyback off what Spencer has just said, to me, mental health stigma is the negative perceptions and the repercussions of being open about having mental health struggles or trauma. Yeah, particularly because we live in a very social African society where if people have a negative perception of you, it won't be just between you and the person you have a conflict with. It will be a butterfly effect between you and other people because other people come to know about it. Yeah.
So for me, mental health stigma, to second what Donna said, is the negative perception. I mean, psychological, physical, the negative thing that you perceive on someone. Yeah.
Have you ever experienced stigma around mental health?
No, I've never. I've never been. I've never experienced.
Has any of us experienced such?
Yeah, personally I have. Nime-experience a lot sana, especially during while I was in primary. Yeah, while I was in primary, I was this much more of a kapumpum. We can call nilikuwa Adidas. I was Adidas. So majorly it really gave me some sense of low self-esteem, and it really even went as far as deteriorating my mental, my intellectual capacity in class. So nilikuwa na feel like I can't go to play soccer with other people, I can't go and do anything with other people, and the negative perception plus the back then, me, I'm a millennial. It used to be mchongwano. So whenever someone could just strike mchongwano like yo, hold on, I know what you want to say, professor. I know what you want to say. So I've experienced mental health. Defined it. Let me tell you, it's not something easy for anyone to experience. It's something bad, I must say. Yeah, for lack of a better word. Yeah.
I wouldn't have experienced the stigma surrounding mental health myself, but I'm aware of how isolating it can be. Particularly, I think when we discuss the stigma surrounding mental health, we need to recognize that these people are already vulnerable. Yeah. And if they talk about it, and then also because some mental illnesses are not easy to hide. Yeah. Things like agoraphobia, hiyo fear ya kutoka nje, things like schizophrenia, other physical illnesses that may have mental repercussions like epilepsy. Like there are things that are not easy to hide. And so you can feel the shame and the people talking negatively about you, and it compounds itself to a problem that is already existing.
Okay, for me, I feel like mental health is not really given the attention like physical. um and it's kind of the same. Actually, mental health is worse, way worse than physical, because physical, you can tell my leg is broken, my head is aching, but mental, you cannot. And I feel like most of the people who never express their mental health issues inatokana, like, maybe how they grew up, how they were brought up, because some homes don't really. Because I used to study with a girl who used to tell us we have dinner every night with our family. So you can get around that dinner table, maybe your parents will get, she's not okay, they'll question that. But for some of us, unakula tu peke yako, you eat in your room, you eat watching alone. So I feel like, yeah, how we're brought up also really helps someone to express their mental health. Yeah. So, why do you think mental health issues are treated differently from physical health issues?
I think it's because the idea that it's all in your head, yeah, and the idea that you can pull yourself up by your bootstraps to get out of mental health issues, because if it's all in your head, then you can think yourself out of it. Yeah. A lot of mental health conditions are debilitating to your everyday life in such a way that it's difficult for you to interact with people. It's difficult, it impacts your productivity. But because of the society that we live in, people just perceive that as lazy. So they're like, especially I think because of hustle culture or grind culture, people just think like you haven't meditated your way out of it, you haven't grinded yourself out of it. Like other people, because other people don't experience the same struggles that you do, they assume that you're not working hard enough to overcome them, when in reality, it's not a matter of willpower. Yes.
So to add up on that, for me, I'd say it's because it's unseen and something that I'm not seeing what you're going through. It's not like a physical thing. I'll be like, Wangeshi, you've broken your leg, but this one now, it's in your mind. You're the one thinking for that. I mean, you if you not like approach me and tell me like, Kelvin, I'm going through this and this, then I want to know. So it's hard for maybe to give someone advice on that, or maybe advise him about something, because if he or she is not ready to say what is feeling, then it's hard. That's why it's hard, unlike the physical one. Sure.
Okay.
Um, I think just to add on what you've said, I think it's also about the kind of life path that each and every individual undergoes. Like you see, my lifestyle can be different from your lifestyle. So if you see me drinking, right, probably out of stress, depression, and what have you, wewe utaniita party animal, because your perception to me is, this guy is a party animal, is drinking, but me, I'm undergoing something. All right, so it's really difficult to capture, or rather to identify this person is undergoing mental health crisis, unless there is, actually there's no established parameters. But if something prolongs, then unaanza is when now you can start picking up. Unlike headache, uta experience to one touch, then you're headaches, and I'm good to go.
It's also hard because some people always do it just to have fun. Some just don't have mental issues at the club. They're just there to have fun and spend their money because maybe they just have a lot of money, so you can't tell.
I think that's something that I wanted to add. A lot of coping mechanisms for mental health issues don't manifest in a positive way. So it's already isolating. Yeah. So, like he said, like people who drink a lot and party a lot, for some people, they are fighting demons. But for other people, as you've said, they're just in
They're
the
just having
club.
fun.
And so the perception, especially because we're a very conservative culture, especially if you look from our parents perspective, they're like, huyu mtoto ameharibika, huyu mtoto aendi mahali, when in reality it's a coping mechanism to a mental health issue. Yeah, one of the biggest symptoms for like something like depression is that someone is unlike themselves and they engage in thrill seeking behaviors to boost their mood, or at least to make them feel something.
Better.
Yeah. So you find someone is, if they drive with a lot of speed, or maybe they drive when they're drunk, and to other people it's like this person is so irresponsible, but to them they're having a struggle that they can't voice. I think that's also another issue. we treat mental health difficulty in a different way because there is no knowledge about what mental health and mental health issues look like. So people don't know how to recognize, okay, this person may be depressed, this person may be suffering from anxiety, this person may be suffering from OCD. There's a lack of knowledge and an abundance of judgment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um, what are some of the ways this trauma affects our daily lives?
I think that's a really, really good question.
Mm.
Because when we think, okay, mental health issues and trauma are different but interconnected. Yeah. So trauma is a psychological response to disturbing events that overwhelm someone's ability to cope. Yeah. And as a result of trauma, someone may develop mental health issues, but mental health issues may be developed through other things. Sometimes imbalanced hormones, sometimes poor physiological development in the brain, stuff like that. And trauma impacts your day to day life depending on what trauma you have. Yeah. So maybe I'll use a common example. So maybe you were robbed at night and it was a very scary experience. Maybe those people had guns or knives, and of course, maybe you report it to the police, and then you know the way police work in this country. Like it's a series of negative events that disturb your ability to cope and interferes with your trust in people. Yeah. So once you've experienced that trauma, you may have difficulty, maybe even leaving your house, maybe inviting people to your house, depending
Walking
on
out
how
at
the
night?
series. Yeah, working at night. Being at home alone at night. It can, depending on the trauma that you experienced, you develop sort of an equal and opposite reaction in how you cope with it in your life. For example, I think this is a really pertinent conversation to be having because Kenyans are traumatized right now.
A lot of them.
You cannot talk about trauma and mental health without talking about the economic state of the country. Because a lot of mental health support has a barrier of entry, which is wealth, which is money, which is knowledge, which is gained through having money. So a lot of people experience things that they have a difficult time talking about. It impacts how they interact with the world, but they don't know they don't have the language to put it out there so that they can get the help that they need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's also important to classify this element of mental stigma because it can emanate from personal experiences. Like for me, what I experienced during childhood, it can also manifest through, let's say, institutions. Like you see, most of us, like you see, we in our workspaces, like in your workspaces, as a musician, as an artist, una encounter tu some sense of triggers through mental stigma, like, hey, lo umeimba aje, I'm not going to pay you, there's some element of discrimination. So may encounter you. Then it can also happen from societal factors. Like for me, the society I was brought up with is, boy, kaa ngumu, go hard or go home. Like for me, I was raised, nilikuwa nalelewa naambia, wewe, if this doesn't happen, unalia nini, umeanguka, simama, wewe ni mwanaume, wipe yourself off. And coping with such kind of experience is what even nasikia sahii watu wanakuambia wewe uko na childhood trauma, and hata it's something I'm even undergoing. I was like, man, kumbe kukula, like kukula kama umekaa chini, mtu yake grow up hata hataki kukaa chini, anasema na prefer hata kwa mkubwa, acha tu nikae ni watch TV, some sense of trauma surrounding it, and it's coping, it's something else. There's no barometer, lakini kucope it's very difficult. Yeah.
Okay, for me, I've been in a space where, like, as an artist, I used to sing, but my fellow bandmates always said I shout at the mic. Every time we meet, every time we have practice together, they'll address that as the first issue. Wangeshi, you're shouting at the mic. Sasa, if it were you, could you really be comfortable working with such people? Because honestly, we can't all have the same voices. We can't all have the same sounds. If my voice is loud, it's loud but clear and good. But now you either tell me in a good way, but now it was you're shouting, every meeting you're shouting on the mic, you're shouting on the mic. So that's really messed up my mental health, and I started working on not being around that environment because I feel like when you notice an environment is getting toxic for you, the first step for your mental health is leaving the environment. You get? Yeah. Do you have
I
anything
think
to say?
you've said something really important. Another thing that is traumatizing or triggering is an inability to recognize toxic situations, because sometimes they mirror, as you've said, our childhood trauma. So because as a child that was what was normal to you, you don't think that there's anything wrong with the way things are, so unabaki hapo na unaendelea kuumia.
And you listen to what people say and stick to what they say, and now you're thinking, oh, so I can't, so I'm not a singer, so I'm not a dancer, so I can't, they're saying I can't do this, so I can't do. You get?
And no, funny thing, I also have singing related trauma. you know, when I was in primary school, I was in a boarding school, class 7, 8. Yeah, and we used to have Sunday service. So now, me being the good Adventist girl, I used to go sing. Like, kulikuwa na segment, and if you have a talent, you can go sing, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'd go sing, and then they'd
Presentation.
make fun. Yes. And then they'd make fun of me. My voice is too high pitched. Now, what can I do about that? They used to make fun of me. Like, it got to a point where, and then I think that's also another, maybe on the inverse, I really don't know how to have shame. It never really stopped me from singing, but I still felt bad
I
about
know.
it, and it impacted my ability to be able to sing in public by myself. If it's in a choir, fine. By myself,
You still remember those
I
words.
still remember those words.
Kevin.
So for me, I'd say the trauma affects productivity. For instance, I get to know a girl from somewhere. So this girl is a little girl, and each and every time when she was singing, maybe a church song, yeah. So like, her father will be like, "No, like you don't know how to sing. Like that voice is not like." I felt bad, and I told that girl, you know what? Don't mind, you just continue singing. And for instance, that girl, when she was told that way by his father, even in school, it get to a point that he was not even being comfortable around people. When the other children are going to maybe to PE, he'd rather stay in class. Lunchtime, he'd be late because he don't want to associate with people, like running home, because it affects. So for me, I'd say we need to do very much awareness about mental health trauma because it affects productivity. For instance, like a girl like that, a class 3 or 4 or grade 3 or 4, being traumatized that way. By the time she's maybe in form 2, form 3, if she remembers what happened back days in her life, then it'll be like, no, this is not it. So for me, I think we should be much engaging on awareness on mental health. Sure.
Before you pass the mic, why do you think it's difficult for some people to express their struggles with mental health?
Um, it's difficult because people are different. For instance, I cannot trust each and everyone I see in my face. Yeah, I might look good, I might look handsome, good looking, but what I'm carrying inside me is I can tell you my own problem and be like the monster, go sharing it with other people. So that point of nakwambia kitu then na ndo naambia Steph, Keva anapitia hii na hii na hii. So itani hard, then I won't be comfortable telling anything about myself. So for me, lack of trust. For me, I'd prefer like if I tell you something, okay, if you feel like you want to tell it, come again and tell me, you know what, uliniambia hii kitu and I feel unaumia, tufanye aje? Yeah, that's why I usually prefer a stranger than someone I know on mental health issues. I'd prefer like hearing someone on radio or TV saying I'm a therapist. I'd prefer calling him or her, hey, I'm Kelvin, I'm going through this and this. Atanisaidia. Then someone who knows me, then atatumia hiyo like my problems to blackmail me. So for me, lack of trust.
I know.
Lack of
I
trust.
second you because I feel like
Sure.
for you to be open to someone, especially with your issues right now, because this generation, God, you just have to do it with a therapist
Yeah.
who you don't know.
Sure.
You're just meeting. Na after hapo hamtapatana tena till your next
Hamtaipatana,
therapy.
yeah.
You
Sure.
get?
Of which maybe you might not go for another therapy.
Yeah. What do you think, Spencer?
I think just to second on what he said, it's majorly tough when you try to express your whatever experiences you are experiencing to someone else, because ideally we live in this kind of, I think, I don't know how to describe it. Is it a cultural thing? Is it a societal thing where that we currently we've embraced the art of man, all this thing is gossip and that you can always, if someone tells you something, you use it as a form of content, especially within the digital content creation space. You can find, I always see in the social media space, we have something called the gossip club, gossip something. So if you see what people are undergoing probably in their private spaces, and whatever you are undergoing mentally, then you think, man, if I shout, what if this is the guy behind this content? All right, you might find yourself in the public media man space, uko hapo wewe ndio sema, kumbe people wasa wanakipitia huku nje. Right, so it's really traumatizing, and I think preferably if you seek a therapy, yeah, it will definitely work for you.
Not crazy
Yeah.
to seek therapy.
I think I also agree. I'd like to term it, we have a society that suffers from a chronic fear of vulnerability. Most of the time it's justified because, as you've said, there's a lack of trust or a lack of understanding. Because I think that's also another thing. When you express yourself, sometimes people may not take it as seriously because to them it doesn't look like a big problem. Rich kid problems, white people problems, something that does not come from a place of care and understanding. Yeah, one of my favorite authors, there's this book that she's written. Her name is Bell Hooks. The book is called All About Love, New Visions. And in the preface, she talks about the fact that as a society, we are afraid of love because we're afraid of the vulnerability it requires.
Yeah.
We have come into a generation, particularly our generation, where we sing more or we talk more about how we don't need love or how we're afraid of love or how love is always wasted, misused, etc., than the power of love. Not to sound like cliche, power of friendship, whatever, but the only, and I'm not saying that you can love someone out of mental health struggles, because that's also another misconception that and I think it can also cause some problems, because it's like, but I love you, why aren't you getting better? That's not what we're here to say. The truth of the matter is, sometimes that lack of support exacerbates your mental health issues and your trauma issues. Yeah, it's because a lot of trauma causes you to have distrust with people.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're in a bad situation where you've expressed yourself to somebody and you've taken it the wrong way, it can validate your negative ideas about yourself. Yeah. For example, maybe if you have abandonment issues and then you open up to someone and they abandon you, it validates the fact that people will always leave me or people will always walk
Yes,
away from me.
yes.
I think another aspect is a lack of self-awareness. People just don't know what they're going through, specific, like hawajijui enough to explain what they're going through, or at least they know the symptoms but they don't know the root cause. Yeah. And then that's also because it causes them to lack self-reflection, because we've mentioned before, not all coping mechanisms for mental health issues and trauma issues are good behaviors. Sometimes they're behaviors that hurt other people. And then also that's another thing I want to get into there, lack of accountability sometimes that comes from having mental health struggles or having a traumatic experience. Yeah. So someone tries to call you out because you're behaving in a type of way, but to you, because it's a coping mechanism, you're like, you just don't get me, you don't understand where I'm coming from, I'm going through something. And so someone who could have been your support system or someone who could have helped you overcome something, they shy away from you because of your unwillingness to change or to learn from your experiences.
So to add up on that, for those who usually listen to like the prison stories and mfano wa mkurugenzi once a time alikuwa na narrate your story. So for me, societal perspective on mental health again is the issue, because for instance, you find like if you listen to this, people who are in prison, like sometimes people are being asked like ulifikaje hapa, like what happened. Then this guy was like, I killed my wife. Why? Because akupika food at supper. And
There's a root
yeah,
cause.
so come to the root cause of that thing, like umse nini ilimfanya. So you find out that this guy once a time, he went to a police station to report like, my wife just beaten me, I was beaten by my wife. And the policemen were like, yo, you're mad bro, unapigwaje na bibi yako hapo ni kwako, so unapigwaje? So that guy akakuwa na that, so where can I go? If you go maybe to the club, drink, and maybe I'm sharing this, yo Steve, I was beaten by my wife yesterday. Steve will be like, yo bro, Are you really a man?
Big, eh?
Sure. So like, and that man was like, I don't want to be that woman. Like, I don't want any trauma. I don't want any trouble with that woman. I literally want us to live a good life because we have children. I can't beat my wife in front of my children. How will be society like? So ikafika point, this guy was overwhelmed by many things in his mind, in his heart. He was full. Then one day, our wife didn't cook supper. Alichukua panga, then that he did what he did, but haikuwa kupenda kwake. Kama angepata that support from first time, venye alienda police station kusema yenyewe mazee napitia, maybe angechange. So for me, society, the perspective of the society for this mental health, like tumechukulia kwamba like for a man the same thing. If a man cries, maybe like on a public side, on a podcast, then like I'm being emotional, I cry, the viewers would be like, yo, why are you crying in front of a camera bro? Like mwanaume mfai kulia mbele ya kamera, mbona? So that thing in a pile mpaka inafika point a man is resist. So for me, like for me, when I feel like I'm very low, I'm very anxious, what I usually do is, I know maybe someone will not be there for me. I'm very like, I feel like I need to cry but I can't because you can't know, maybe someone is somewhere seeing me. Kesho mi nimetrend hapo in Nairobi gossip, so I don't want that. So for me, I usually go like on a nature walk. I prefer like a very dense place, like a forest, a very thick forest with some water flowing. So like hata naekelea nduru moja kali sana you see, then like I just wash my face, wash my hands and like, yo, I'm good. So for me, that nature vibe inanipea some serenity. Yeah. So for me, society, if people in our society will be changed that kila mtu anafaa kusikizwa, will cope up with this thing.
Yeah, there's something Nyaboke said about self-awareness. Just to bring to attention, yeah, I agree as well that mental health, yes, indeed, you can practice self-awareness. But what if already you're in mud? You don't know whether you are experiencing this thing. You're already living in this, can I call it optical illusion? Like it is existing, but it is not existing. Only the person who is outside can really tell that. So if you try and say that you're using self-awareness as a scheme of identification that, hey man, this is a trigger, this is not me, man, it's so difficult for you to do that. So I always find and I'm always against it, by the way, that whenever I read books, whenever I see people saying that self-awareness, I always find the term self-awareness to be, wait, this term is, I wouldn't want to say it doesn't exist per se, but I will just say it's too far-fetched. There's no way you can tell me something like self-awareness. Self-awareness only happens when there's another person telling you that this is who you've been, this is not who you've been. But it cannot come from within. I find that term to be like for me, as you see, like the way now for you, allegedly people are saying that you are shouting. From your own sense, you feel, man, yo, I'm good. I got the vocals, bro. Unaona? Lakini msee mwingine ndio anaanza kusema, oh, high pitch, oh, low pitch.
And those who can't sing are those people who tell you how you should sing.
Exactly.
I think you have a good point. Not everybody is capable of self-awareness. We don't live in a society that promotes self-awareness. Yeah. We live in a society, I think it's also self-centered, self-motivated. So it's different. It's difficult to look outside and see the impact that your actions have on people. Yeah, I think it's also because of that fear of vulnerability, people have a difficult time speaking up, saying, by the way, you really hurt my feelings when you did this. Yeah? So it's already difficult. Mtu akuonyeshe ikiwa kwambie, Spencer, this is who you are, this is how you behave, this is how it impacts people. Yeah, and I also want to touch on something that Kevin has said, the importance of having a healthy coping mechanism. That isn't just drinking, going out to the club, a road trip, whatever. Something that does not always involve other people, because as you've already established, sometimes it's difficult to find a person to trust when you're already having a difficult time mentally. Yeah, and I think also maybe that's another thing that we need to revisit. The insidiousness of mental health is that not only is it isolating because of mental stigma, it's isolating because of low self-esteem. and low self-worth. You feel like you don't matter. You feel like what you have to say doesn't have an impact on people. You feel like people don't care about you. If you are depressed, you feel like the world will be a better place without you. So there's already you already have a difficult time talking about it. Also because mental health is depressing in and of itself. Yeah, because sometimes you tell someone you're going through something, and then sasa yeye ndo anaanza kulia, wewe ndo unaanza kumcomfort. So having healthy coping mechanisms, like taking a walk, journaling. If you're scared of a physical journal, you can journal on your phone. You can do video journals. You can do audio journals. Therapy services, reading books, things that get you out of your head and into something else that you can at least find peace in the meantime. Yeah.
I also feel like the kind of company you keep also helps with your mental health, because I can't just come to Spencer, he's my friend. I'm like, I'm going through a breakup. Shika, kunywa vile wana wakunywa. Tuende tulewe. You get? The kind of company that you're working with also matters, because you have to have that discernment. If I want to go and party, there's this friend that I'm going to look for. If I want help with something, maybe I'm going through something, there's this particular friend that I look for, mwenye hata nipoteza, yeah. Yeah, anyway.
I think, oh, sorry, that's also having discernment in picking out your friends.
Yes.
I was taking notes before we got here.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about how sometimes it's difficult to open up to people because you have different values than them. So you already know that the advice or the support that they would give you is not support that you're looking for. There's this like meme or whatever that you can't look for advice from people whose lives you don't want to live.
Yeah. Sure.
And maybe, for example, if you're in a group or if your social setting is limited in people who have like minds like you can also feel isolated because kuna issues zingine yenye to other people they don't look that serious. Yeah. For example, I can't think. Can I think of a good example? Maybe if it's a relationship issue, and for example, the only people you can talk to are like maybe your parents. They'll be like, "Wachana na huyo mtu, enda shule." Someone enda kanisa. Someone whose advice is not really applicable to your values and to your experiences. Someone who does not have the ability to validate your feelings because they don't think the way you do.
So let's move to breaking this stigma. What are some of the ways we can encourage open conversations about mental health? For me, I wanted to say something about this generation, because me, I'm a Gen Z, like a typical Gen Z. First, Gen Z is when you have a problem and you tell your fellow Gen Z, you just make fun of it and brush it off. Same, we will laugh. Let's say something like, or let's just use posts from Nairobi Gossip. You'll find there's something Nairobi Gossip has posted, and you'll like Aziad's story. Most of the people who are trolling Aziad don't even know what was happening. They are just hearing something from somewhere. Now, when I troll too. But the comments that were going on there, I hope Aziad did not read them, because if she read them, she must be strong to be standing wherever she is. Sure. So we are really joking a lot. When I post something about something, when I post something about a breakup with a person, it's just funny. Gen Zs just find everything funny. You could see Juicy Twitter was talking about. See, there is this politician's son who passed.
Yeah.
Now I don't know where the rumors came from. Ati sasa mtoto wa Sudi pia amekufa. And let me tell you the memes that went on Twitter. Wacha tuende huko tutajulia mbele, tujulia Kapseret. Ni nani amekufa? You get it. And now they think it's funny. Honestly, that's not funny. I feel like this generation is taking everything to be funny. And now before you air out your mental struggle, you'll be like, maybe it will just be, it will be a meme. They'll just, anyway. Yeah.
I think also, let's face it, we are traumatized as a society.
Yes.
As a Kenyan society, we are traumatized. The events over the past 2 years have been traumatizing. Tuanzie tu hapo, number one. Yes. And number two, the fact of the matter remains that as a country, as a collective, we don't have very healthy coping mechanisms. Kenyans are known for their drunkenness. Kenyans are known for making jokes out of pain.
Cyber attacks.
cyber attacks, nini. And because of that, it's also, it creates a difficult platform to discuss your issues. Juu watu watakucheka tu. People will turn, you'll be crying, you'll make a TikTok of you crying and opening up. Kidogo we ni sticker.
Who hurt you?
Unatumika kama sticker
Unatumika kama sticker. So it becomes difficult to open up. And I think also we need to recognize that this laughing at people's pain is also a coping mechanism. Because if you don't laugh, you'll cry, and Kenyans are allergic to crying. Kenyans are allergic to opening up. So because of the way we behave around other people's pain, it makes it difficult to open up about the pain that you have. Yeah. So I think, again, finding your tribe or finding people who have similar values to you, who you develop trust. But then again,
you see life in the same way.
Yeah. But then that's easier said than done. We can talk about we can talk about it on this podcast. But the reality is, finding someone who thinks like you and sees the world the way you do is difficult.
Very difficult.
Yeah, especially because mental health is so polarizing, and because of lack of accessibility for mental health support, a lot of Kenyans are either self-diagnosing or unaware that they're having mental health issues. So someone is experiencing the same thing as you, but because they don't see it or they don't deal with it the way you're dealing with it, they'll be like, kunywa tu. Or umeachwa twende, like let's twende, so it becomes infecting each other with our unhealthy coping mechanisms, as opposed to recognizing what is happening and stopping it in its tracks.
But you also have to have the discernment, because you can't really get everything in one person.
Yes.
I cannot get everything in Spencer if I want him to be my friend.
Yes.
So you have to have different friends who fit. Yeah.
So for that,
You have to get people who are like different, who are suiting. You're looking for this, get that person who is perfect at that. Yes,
Sure.
Kevin.
for me again, I'll say it's all about finding yourself. For instance, I want to be like Eddie, for example. I want to maybe to be doing things like him. So for me, I'll see him do like what he's doing. And again, in what I mean in saying finding yourself, for example, if you see something maybe on internet, don't be too fast like to go like share with your friends like, yo, why? For instance, utashare kitu haiko, like why find yourself first. That's what we usually say, like when you have like, you need to have more knowledge on, try to find knowledge at every cost. If you are here, jua hiyo kitu inafanywaje. Usikwe tu msee like ukiona kitu jump into it. For me, that's the only thing I think wase waki-master atakuwa fine. People are jumping into things. Umeona tu like a meme, tumejump. Kitu imefanyika, wewe umepost. Why are you posting? Are you sure? Are you certain about that thing? Have you confirmed? Is it real? So for me, nimekuwa into that, like people are sending some things to me. Okay, I'm an IT guy. I have many sources for finding if it's true or false. But first of all, I'll ask myself, why me? Why are you sending to me at first place? Just share yourself. Nitaona tu pale nimeona. I've seen many things like people are sending to me and I'm like, no, I can't repost. The other time there was this story like at the Roman Catholic Pope has passed. My friend, my friend sent to me and I was like, wait, are you serious? Pope has passed? And I'm following the main page of the Vatican and I'm seeing Pope is still in the hospital. Yeah, I screenshotted, sent it to him. Juzi ananiambia, yo, I'm sorry, kumbe Pope hadi hajakufa. So I'm like, wait, mbona ulikuwa una post? How many people saw that thing? Yeah, why are you jumping? Like, identify yourself first. Get to know, like, it's not all about like ukinitumia kitu nafaa sometimes let's make fun but isiende off limits.
Before you pass the mic, okay, what do you think as friends, family members, parents, what can we do to help our friends, our children, our family, our brothers and sisters to express their mental struggle, like to get comfortable with us and tell us what's going on?
For that, I'll say, first of all, be open with someone and be real. When I'm saying I'm being real, Like I have my brother. I'm going through a lot. Maybe I'm going through something. I'll just be real. Uskole say you just beat around the bush. If you have something like and you feel like you want to be helped, the reason many people are going through things is because you're not open and you're not straightforward on that thing. First of all,
The problem with that is
yeah,
you can find I have a brother, but it's so hard for me to confide in him. Like he might be willing to help me, but the relationship that we have, the both of us, ni ngumu nianze kuongelea hizo story. Una get?
yeah,
Now
sure.
how can we help? How
So-
can we make that relationship too comfortable for me to tell
Yeah.
him
So
about
for
my
that,
problems?
you try building the relationship with your brother or your friend. Make that relationship be so strong until ukweni msona trust. I don't see the point of me fearing my sister or my sister fearing me because we've been together. I mean, we are open to each other. Yeah, ni mdogo, mi ni mkubwa, but at least kuna kitu naweza mwambia ya ukweli. So that's it. Build that relationship. Usiogope. The reason is maybe you are fearing because ukiambia your brother, okay, sisters, for instance, in happen kwa madem. You can't tell your brother like, yo, I went to meet maybe Kelvin Samuel, be like, we tusizoeane, achana nao kijana. So first of all, you as a brother, you need to identify like, yo, ni vitu ina happen, mbona ni mkazie, yet mi mwenyewe it's not like pia mi nitaenda kupata someone else. How about a brother or his brother atafeel aje about that thing? So first of all, build that relationship, like be free, be open, make sure hata kani unamwogopa, bring him close. Don't be judgmental. Don't. If you see me, usinijudge.
Yeah, just to, I think Atasha exhaust. Just don't be judgmental. Two, share memes. Kidding. Don't share. Okay, yeah, but one, judgment. Don't be judgmental. Two, instill kuna values zingine, learn to understand this. I think it's part and parcel of emotional intelligence. You understand, like, hey, I know Nyaboke, when it comes to this time, this is not the right time to address the situation, because from her side she'll find it, hey, wewe pia unakuja sana, but just wait for that time yenye on her lowest, that kapik nyako kama anaweza accommodate mse, then step in. So it's all about emotional intelligence. You see, like you getting frustrated, I can't just pounce on you that time. Mi nitakuacha kama unakata, mi nitakuacha unyonye hizo chupa zako 6-7 kwanza, maintain, come low, alafu sasa tu engage. Kama wewe ni msoa Bible, mi I'll just ingia church, lia vile utalia, mi nitakungoja tu hapo nje ya church, sema umazana, sasa tunaweza ongea. Yeah, lakini mimi nikupata tu kwa hiyo peak when your emotions are all over the place. Man, it won't even augur well with the kind of relationship that both of you have. So yeah.
I think to add on that, empathy, kindness, humility. Because part of opening up to someone is recognizing the power structure in your relationship, and is hapa kuna nafasi yenye naweza penya niongee, just as you have said. So for example, like if it's siblings, okay, me, I've become really close with my sister once you got over the disliking each other stage,
Once you're adults.
once you're adults and you like each other. And I think a big part of the reason why our relationship has been able to grow to the point where we're able to open up to one another is because I try to listen to where she's coming from. Like, I don't impose my ideals on her. I meet her where she is and she meets me where I am, and we try to come to a resolution. And I think we live in a society where we don't know how to compromise in a healthy way. We don't know how to meet people where they are, ndio tuwainue. Instead, we are shouting from the top, kuambia the way they are failures or the way they're not doing well. You know,
I told them to
because
stop dating.
I think that's a really good example when someone is in in a toxic relationship, and you can tell that they're in a toxic relationship, but you can also tell that they're not ready to leave this person. So the best that you can do for them is to be present, to be there until they are ready, and when they are ready, help pull them out of that darkness. Because as you have said, sometimes it's difficult to recognize that you're in the trenches when you're in the trenches. It's only when you've come out and you're looking around and you're like, kumbe kwenye nilitoka kulikuwa kubaya. So sometimes I think you need to humble yourself and be willing to listen to someone without, as you guys have said, without judgment, ku understand kwenye ametoka. Unaweza mkashifu baadaye once you've already solved the problem.
So to add up on that, I'd say respect and listening to one another opinion. For instance, I have my friend maybe, for example, and I'm thinking of pitching this idea to him or her, like I want to start something. Yeah. Yeah, I want to start something. I'm tired of kukaa tu home. Nataka nianze kitu. Then you should be like, mbona ufanye kitu? Watu wengi wamefanya. Hata ule alifanya uliona no. Respect first of all. Listen. That's what you shall say. We have 2 ears to listen more and one mouth talk less. Yeah. So listen and respect that decision. Yeah, there are many shops. Actually, how many supermarkets are in town? There are many. But if I come to
moja iko hapa, ingine iko
sure,
kando.
even if nikikuja tu hata hapo Courtiers opposite na niweke supermarket yangu, I have my own strategies. I have my own things on how I'll manage that business until iko venye mimi nataka. So first of all, listen to me, respect my decision. Then afterwards, let's be it a discussion. So I was saying that point, or maybe what you were saying, it's not ideal at this time. Maybe we can switch it up like this. Let's do this. I mean, let's come up with ideas or rather discussions yenye haita ni at break, of which in that discussion you too unaweza pata kitu hapo hivi. So I mean, respect and listening.
I really support your decision because most of us are really going through a lot, and you can't tell when you just look at a person.
Sure.
So being kind is the only thing that you can do at the moment. Just be kind to the person instead of maybe adding another emotional baggage to the person.
Yeah.
So I would like you to look at the camera and talk to somebody who is going through a mental struggle right now. What would you advise them to do?
So hey, I'm Kelvin, and if by any chance you're going through any mental health issues, what I say is try to seek therapy if maybe you feel you're in need of it. And again, identify yourself. Don't get too engaged in too much things that will make you feel traumatized. If it doesn't make sense, leave it. If it makes sense, go for it.
To anyone who's going through mental health struggles, I see you and I hear you. What you're going through is not unique to you. Other people have experienced it and they've come out on the other side. Yeah. So you may not be coping in the healthiest way, and I'm not telling you to quit all your unhealthy coping mechanisms evil too, but try to incorporate some healthy behavior so that you're able to come out of that situation better than you were before. Usitoke ujipate umejingisha kwa shimo. I'm sorry. And so journaling, exercising, kama ni gym, zumba, pilates, do it. Move your body so that you're active. Journal, find good friends, seek therapy, do your best to pull yourself out of that problem, and you will see that life is worth living again.
For me, I'll just be simple. One thing, there's no emotions that can be too heavy for you to express. So just come out, express your whatever you're undergoing to someone, to a confidant, of course, and live life. Be happy. Life is not that serious for everything. Yeah.
So for me, I'll tell you, my name is Wangeshi, and I really love helping people with mental issues. And one thing I want to echo is it's not crazy. It doesn't look crazy to look for a therapist. You don't have to be in that moment where you're too depressed that you're in the hospital. That's when you're saying, okay, now when I get out of here, I'm going to look for a therapist. You don't have to have also a mental issue for you to look for a therapist. It's good to have someone because it's really hard to get people to confide in. So I think a therapist is better. It's very good to at least have someone to update the difficulties you've gone through the week. Maybe akusaidie. You don't really have to have a mental issue. Another thing I'll talk about is let's occupy each other in our spaces, let's leave the stigma alone. We can't all be the same. He can be perfect. He can be doing the things that the society really requires him to do, and I cannot be doing them. And it doesn't earn us anything for you guys to give me that stigma you get. Yeah. Does anyone have anything to add?
I think one more thing to add is once you recognize that you have a mental health issue, you have to have the willingness to change and grow as a person. You have to be willing to heal. Yeah, because I think part of the stigma and mental health ni it's difficult to walk away from the negative feelings or the negative experiences that you have. You sometimes you let them define you, but for you to be able to get better, you have to be willing to stand up and be like, this is not who I want to be anymore. And of course, that change won't be immediate. Sometimes the change is gradual, and you have to have grace for yourself during that transition period between who you are and who you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. One final thing, be easy on yourself.
Right.
Yeah, be easy on yourself.
Second final thing. Maybe this is the last thing that I'm going to say. You are not alone. You might think you are alone, but there are some of us who are really willing to listen to you. So sijizike kwa hiyo shimo. No problem is unsolvable. No problem is so big to not solve. So yeah, I'd like us to give them our social handles before we finish. I go by the name Who is Wangeshi, Instagram. In case unatafuta msanii, get me there.
Umesema kuna tofauti ya msanii na mwanamuziki. Okay, I go by the name Spencer_1 Instagram, Waluhu Mwambisi Twitter, that is X. Yeah, and that's it for me.
I go by _pixie_glitter, both on TikTok and on Instagram. I also have an Instagram page for my podcast. It's called Tafakari Podcast. We discuss mental health issues. It was dead, but I'm reviving it. So follow me on TikTok if you want to think about the revolution in a broader way.
Hi, I'm Kelvin. So LinkedIn, Kelvin Kipkosgei. Instagram, I'm Kelvin KE. TikTok, I'm Kelvin. Follow.
Yeah. Also, we are Podtail Podcast. You can follow us. You can follow us on Instagram. You can follow us on TikTok. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching this and you've not subscribed, pause, subscribe. Press, then come back. Yeah. And I'd like to sing a small verse. It's maybe concerning this.
Yes.
But if you know, you can sing with me. Do what makes you happy. Do what makes you smile. Everybody's judging anyway. You only live for a while. Raha usijinyime. Drink the very best wine. Everybody's watching anyway. You're only here for a while.
Yeah, you're only here for a while.
Oh, what a time to be alive. Hapa ndo mwanzo wa kufika kileleni. Oh, what a time to be alive. Share your light and share your power. Bye, guys.
Bye.